Thank you. Thank you. I'm certainly not a doctor, neither medical nor other, nor professor. But thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol observed. It's exciting to be here today as the third-year lead sponsor representing Westprop Holdings Limited, a publicly listed company on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. And I am the Chief Energizing Officer, and hopefully I can share some energy with you today. You know, I'm a stickler for being on time. And in our events, we always start on the dot. And as the lead sponsor, in the interest of being ahead of the game, let me start and end my remarks with 3 quotes. But before I do so, let me thank API Murray, the team who's put this together. Really extremely professional organization. We are so impressed that we committed to a long period, I think 5 years, maybe longer, to be the lead sponsor of this conference. Not only are we confident in them as the organizers, but we're also confident in the industry, because every year we see more faces, some familiar faces, and the interest that's being generated around our sector is growing. Let me start with the first quote. The uncle of Donald Duck, who some of you may not know, Ludwig von Drake, said, "The more you look, the more you see. The more you see, the more you know." And for those of you who were at last year's conference, I actually started my remarks with a quote from Al Pacino, from Scarface, who said something like, "Hey Chico, the eyes, they never lie." And he was talking about the girl that he thought liked him. But you know, seriously, the more you see, the more you know. It was also said by Persig's celebrated phrase, "The more you look, the more you see." And this message today, this quote, is directed to those in government, both at national and local level, because I think it's high time that we as an industry get the attention we deserve. I also want it to be directed to those not yet here in Zimbabwe, but those thinking about investing or returning home. My clarion call to all of them is that please look deeply, carefully at the real estate industry. Because today, according to Zimstat, we are only 2.8% of the GDP of this country. And yet, on global norms, real estate should represent 15 to 20% of GDP. And even in developing countries, including Africa, we should be around 12%. So that represents at least 6 times more value than we currently have. Now, to put that into dollar figures, if we were to look at our rebased economy as a $50 billion GDP, we are probably around $1 billion at best. And yet, if we are supposed to be around 12%, that's $6 billion. That represents a $5 billion additional revenue per year. It is massive, people. It is huge. The cake is so big, there's so much to share. And yet we're not there. Why is the question. I believe that government needs to give us more attention, needs to give this industry more incentives. We haven't been seen in the budget of Zimbabwe ever. There is absolutely no budgetary support for our industry. Why can't government start with budgetary support for mortgages? If I tell you what the statistic for mortgages is, you'll be shocked. You won't believe me. It's 0.04% of GDP. And yet developed economies, one of the most wealthy economies in the world, Switzerland, highest GDP per capita, is 120% of GDP. Developed economies are between 50 and 80% of GDP. Developing economies like ours is at least 30% of mortgages of the GDP. So if we're a $50 billion economy, please government, we need $15 billion of mortgages today. Because that is the game changer, not only for our industry, but for the entire economy. Switzerland didn't become what it is without borrowing and without mortgages. If this opportunity doesn't excite you, and you don't want to look for more and see more, then I don't know what will. But please, seriously, government, who is inside the country, and investors who are outside the country, we need your support to look at us, for us to get where we're supposed to be. The second quote is Thoreau's famous line, "The question is not what you look at, but what you see." I'm a firm believer of the glass being half full. We can all look at the glass, but not all of us see it as half full. Some choose to see it as half empty. In fact, I personally choose to see it as overflowing. My cup surely overflows. This message is to all of us here in this room, those listening to us today, because we've made great progress, great strides as an industry, as a company in the last 5 years, and especially the last 2 years. We must celebrate and choose to see the good of all the things that are happening around us. There's a lot of development happening right now in Zimbabwe, not only in Harare. And we must also choose to be good ambassadors for our country, so that others may want to come and see. As for me, I choose to see a better future where we have hope in our nation, and where that hope is realized, and a future in 2050 where West Prop have put 1 billion bricks in the ground. That is why I call myself a man of the future. The last quote has a deeply personal aspect for me, because I used to read it out to my daughter at bedtime. And it goes something like this. A wise old owl once lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we all be like that wise old bird? Let me also direct now that one to myself and stop speaking. But in closing, although these quotes may seem somewhat anecdotal, by no means is my lightheartedness today meant to be funny. These quotes are deeply philosophical and apt for the current environment we're in. Therefore, we ought to take them as seriously as we can, because they do and will have a profound effect and impact on the future of the real estate industry in Zimbabwe. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.